We're starting Be'ez Hashem Siman Lamed Ches in haGuela, and this is a new subject now. And the theme is the story of Mordechai not bowing to Haman and how that brought about the danger of the story of Purim. And the Yidden were mad that Mordechai did this. So the same way we're mad at the Zionists for causing the tzara of the 6-day war. It says he was a man Yehudi, which implies Shevet Yehuda. And then it says Ushmoi Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi ben Kish Ish Yemini. He was from Shevet ben Yamin. So in fact the Gemara, what was he? Was he from Yehuda or was he from Ben Yamin? Kari le Yehuda almi mi Yehuda ka'asi v'kari le Yemini almi mi Binyani ka'asi. Was he from Yehuda ben Yamin? So Rava Amar Knesset Yisrael Amra le'idach gisa. Because the Gemara first brought that it was a praise of him. It said that the Jewish people said, we're so happy that Mordechai came to the world to save us, because Mordechai is a result of Yehuda, a result of David HaMelech not killing Shimri ben Gera, the ancestor of Mordechai, and he's also an anicle of Binyamin, so we're happy of those two things. We're happy of Yehuda and Binyamin, and that's why they were happy of it. They were, thanking Hashem for those two events. But Rava says the other way around. Knesset Yisrael Amra le'idach gisa. They said, "Fakir, we don't like Mordechai. Why don't we like Mordechai? Re'u ma asa li Yehudi. See what David HaMelech from Shevet Yehuda did to me." It's going to say, "Uma shilem li yemini. Ma asa li Yehudi delay katle David l'shimi." He didn't kill Shimi, the isi lid minei Mordechai, who was the ancestor of Mordechai. The Mekani babe Haman, that he was Mekane. The Haman was Mekane him. Haman was angry at him. Uma shilem li yemini. And what did the Benjaminite do to me? The loikatle David, the loikatle Shaul le Agag. The Shaul, who was from Shevet ben Yamin, didn't kill Agag from Amalek. The isti lid minei Haman, the Mitzar li Israel, because Haman was born from Agag. He was a descendant of Agag, and he caused this whole Tzar li Israel. Ad kan b'Gemara. That's the Gemara. Pirish Rashi, the like Katli David l'Shimi, Shahai Chayav Misa, that Shimi ben Geir was the one who cursed David HaMelech, and so he's Chayav Misa for being married b'Malchus. David really should have killed him, but he didn't kill him. He gave the job to his son Shlomo HaMelech, and Shlomo HaMelech did the job, but L'maisa in between he had children. V'chein hu b'targum sheni, Shimi kilel HaMelech. Shimi cursed the king, v'nis Chayav Misa al pi Torah, El shechasta lo'i David, the lo'i lamiktal yaseh. That David HaMelech had mercy on him. And why? The chama beruach hakodesh, because David HaMelech saw with his ruach hakodesh the kaimin minei hani trade tzadikaya, that two tzadikim would come out of his descendants, Mordechai and Esther. Umisparkin al yudeho in Beis Yisrael, and the Jewish people would be saved by them. So that's why David HaMelech didn't kill him. Ad kan l'shoinai. Okay, u'knesses Yisrael mistra emes v'tzoyekas alav. So you have this contradictory thing. First, you see David HaMelech wanted Mordechai and Esther to come to the world because the Jewish people were saved by them. And on the other hand, you have the Jews complaining and saying, no, we don't like that Mordechai came to the world, because Mordechai caused the whole problem by making Haman angry. He says, Ma osali Yehudi delay katali l'Shimi. Why did David not kill Shimi? The Easterly made Mordechai. The Mekani be Haman, because Haman was angry because of Mordechai. V'Rashi Kostav litza'aka v'loy l'shvach. It was for bad and not for good. The Ish Yehudi v'ish Yemini garmu li hatzar hazeh. It was a man from Yehuda, David HaMelech, and a man from Yemini, which is Shaul, who caused this danger. The cost of Amarsha, the Chidushei Haggadus, the Aloshan Mashilem li Yemini tzarich biur. What did he pay to me? Payback sounds like it's a result of something else. It says tzarich biur u'lichayr dema tashlumin shaykh kan. What's the tashlumin? What's the tashlumin? So he says, "Upirish hu zal." The Maharsha explains, "The avagav the Mordechai hainu yemini hitzil acher kachis kol Yisrael." Even though Mordechai saved the Jewish people, vehevi geula b'tfilasa, and he, with his prayers, he brought the salvation. Ubitel es gzeira, he annulled Achashverosh's gzeira. Al yedei atzoymois v'zakasam, the fasts that they and the prayers that they had. Aval loy shilem Here's the word shilem, tashlumin. What was he shilem? It means he wasn't shilem. He didn't fix the problem. Shilem the tikein hatzar shagaram David Yisrael b'mash noilad Mordechai. That Mordechai's his saving didn't make up for his danger. The Eloi haya Mordechai loy haya kantakol of the haman. If not for Mordechai, the whole problem wouldn't have started. Loy haya mekane el b'Mordechai. Loy haya kantakola. Why the haman loy haya mekane el b'Mordechai? Haman was only angry because of Mordechai. Ad kan l'shaynai. So you see a funny thing here. You see Mordechai saved them, but they were not happy with him because they said, better you shouldn't have caused the whole thing to begin with.
What thing?
The anger of Haman. Because Mordechai didn't bow to Haman. Haman got angry, and he decreed death on the Jews. And then Mordechai saved them with his prayers. So the Yidden are saying, what do we need you for? We wish you hadn't caused this whole thing. Better not to make Haman angry. Okay?
So he's saying he's right for...
Who's right? Haman's right?
No, for telling Mordechai that, but in this case you have to.
Oh, why? Because Mordechai couldn't have bowed to Haman, you're asking.
He's not allowed to.
Right, because Haman was in the avodah zarah. That's what we're about to say. Keep going. What was the anger of the Jews? What was their complaint? You can't tell me this was a mistake that the Jews made, that they were angry at Mordechai. Because it says, Knesset Yisrael said these words. Knesset Yisrael always means like tzaddikim said it. But what should Mordechai have done? Should he have bowed down to Haman's idol? Haman made himself a getchka, an avodah zarah. To the cost of Rashi Zal, Rashi says it there on the pasuk. Why didn't Mordechai bow to Haman? Because he made himself an avodah zarah. Uva medrash Isa shahaya Mordechai mispalel Hashem. That Mordechai davened to Hashem and he said, "V'omar gali v'yadua lifnei chiseichik v'tchavudecha ki loy migavus leiv umaram ayin asisi asher lo yishtachavesi lahaman." That when I didn't bow to Haman, I didn't do it out of my own pride and my own arrogance of the heart. Ki im mirascha poalti, but I did it out of fear of you, poalti zois. Levilti hishtachvois loy, not to bow to him. Why? Ki yaresi mi panecha levilti taste kavoidcha lebasar v'dam. I was afraid of you because I didn't want to give your honor to a human being. I didn't want to bow to a human being. I didn't want to bow to anyone but you. So this is a whole speech that Mordechai said in his tefillah to Hashem. So why did Mordechai have to say this whole speech? Why do you have to apologize to Hashem for not bowing to Haman? And say, I didn't do it for my own kavod, I did it for your kavod. Pashut, it was an isser, right? You can't bow to avodah zarah. He was actually ushered to bow to Haman. It would have been like Yahar ve'Yavor. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay. Uva Gemara Sanhedrin, Samach Aleph on the base. Mevur beferish. Shahaya guf ve'avodah zarah. The Gemara goes there that Haman himself was an avodah zarah. Because we're going to see later there was a shita that he had a tzelem, he had like a statue hanging around his neck. So the Gemara in Sanhedrin doesn't go like that. The Gemara in Sanhedrin goes that Haman himself was an avodah zarah. It says the Tanya. It says there, Lo yisishtachav Elohem, don't bow to avodah zarah. Aval atam yishtachav elo adam shekemoischa, but you are allowed to bow to a person like yourself. So like a king. In other words, if you meet a king, it says you bow to the king, right? It says, Nasan and Navi bowed to David. Throughout Tanakh, you see people bow down to the king, right? Mm-hmm. So that's okay. You're allowed to bow to a king.
There's a picture of the Satmar rebbe with the King Carol.
But is he bowing to him, or is he just like shaking his hand?
I don't know.
He's shaking his hand. Anyway, Yachol afilu nevad kehaman. You might think that you could bow to a king even if he's a nevad, even if he's an avodah zarah. It says, it's in the Ten Commandments, okay? V'Rava Amar. V'Rava Sfirle. So he's skipping things here. We have to see the sugya inside. That's why I brought this over here. There's a machlokes Abai and Rava. Let's see it. Let's see where we are. Omer Abai, Mina Minallah. Because before that, here, look at the words, there's a little star on the margin that says Itmar. The line begins with the word Itmar. Okay? Itmar, Ha'oived avodas kachavim me'avo me'yira. If someone does avodah zarah out of love or fear. So, Pashas, we're going to learn, the way Rashi learns, that it's...
Which staff is this?
It's Sanhedrin Samach Aleph on the base. It says if someone does avodah zarah out of love or fear, meaning that Rashi explains that he didn't do it because he believed in it. He did it because he loved, let's say, another person who does avodah zarah. So in order to make that person happy, he also bowed down to the avodah zarah with him, but he didn't actually believe in it. Miyira. Miyira means he's afraid of a person, meaning that there's a person killing him or something, right? And he doesn't want to get killed, so because of that, he bows to the avodah zarah, but not because he believes in avodah zarah. So Abai Omar Chayev. Abai says that person is Chayev. Chayev Misa, Chayev a carbon. He's Chayev. He's not allowed to do that. Rava Omar Potter. Rava says no. In that case, you're Potter. Why are you Potter? Because Lamaisa, you didn't do it because you believed in it. You did it because of the fear or the love of the other person. Okay? Abai Omer Chayev Dehapalcha. Abai says you worshipped it. Who cares why you did it? Rav Omer Potter. If he accepted it as a god, in ben he's Chayev Misa. But he loy. If he didn't accept it, then he's not Chayev Misa.
Be'eluha, which means what?
What? Be'eloya, as a god.
Oh.
He didn't accept the avodah zarah as a god. He just did it because he wants to please somebody else. Okay. So now skipping down to Omer Abaya, right over here, 3 lines below the 2 dots. Omer Abaya, Minoah Minallah. How do I know my shita? Titania, because the Brisa says like this: Lo yisishtachav Elohem.
So yeah.
It's the line begins with Titania.
Oh yes.
Okay. Lo yisishtachav Elohem. Don't bow to them, to avoid zarah, right? Lahem yatam mishtachava. To avoid zarah, you're not allowed to bow. But you could bow to a person who's like you, meaning a king or an important person. Yachol afilu nevad kahaman. You might think even if that person is a worshipped person, like Haman. Then it says no, you're not allowed to do that. The Haman. So Zaktabaya, I have a right to my shita here. Because Haman, Miyiro Hava. People didn't bow to Haman because they believed in him, or at least the Jews didn't, right? Mordechai didn't. He bowed to Haman. If he would have bowed because of yira, because of fear. And still, it says, Haman Miyiro Hava Neva. He was bowed out of fear, out of fear, and yet it says he's not allowed to do it. So Rava, what does Rava answer? Kehaman v'loi kehaman. It means like Haman, but not like Haman. Kehaman di'ilu gufei avodas kachavim. Like Haman, that he himself was an avodah zarah. But like Haman di'ilu Haman miyira v'hachalav miyira. So Rav is saying, in the exact case of Haman, in a chanami, they would be allowed to bow to him. But the case that's aser is when there's no yira. Let's say someone makes himself an avodah zarah, and there's no yira. Nothing's going to happen to you if you don't do it, and you go and do it. That's where Rav would say there's an iser. Okay? That's the end of the sugya that we're interested in right now. So, go back to haGuela for a minute. Let's see. The Rava Sfirle, Rava says, Kehaman de'ilu gufei avodah zarah hava. Avaloi kehaman de'ilu haman miyira. Haman is miyira. That's the case where it's mutter to do it. And Umad Chiva Kasuf, Afilu Alam Nevad, Haman, Belav Miyira. That the Torah was Mechayev you an avera of or chayav misa for someone who bows to a person who is a nevad, a person who's worshipped. That's only when it's not miyira. When people don't worship him out of fear, they worship him because they really want to worship him. Okay. Al kapanim haya haman avodah zara mamash. You see from the Gemara in this Gemara in Sanhedrin that both sides agree. The Brisa and the Abai and Rav, everybody agrees that Haman himself was an avodah zara. U'ledivri Abai harehu belav d'leisa avdim. According to Abai, bowing to Haman was aser. According to Rav, l'chayr was mutter. That's what he's bothered by now. And he says, "V'tois v'sham hikshu aliba derava." Tois v'staka asks, according to Rava, the miyira potter, that if it's out of fear, then you're not chayav misa for that. So then amay lo hish tachav mordechai lahaman. Why Taka didn't Mordechai want to bow to Haman? V'tirtzu al pi ma shekasav b'medrash shahayut slami mal libay. So Tosfos says, that according to that, you're going to have to say that in the Chanami Haman himself was an avodah zara, but that's not the thing, because that was just miyira. Narvas, there was a statue hanging around Haman's neck, and that was the problem. Now, 1 second. That's also miyira, right? Not bowing to the statue is the same problem. It's miyira. What's going to happen to a person who doesn't bow to the statue? They're going to get killed, right? So that's miyira. So weiter back to Rava. Rava says miyira is potter. Let's just finish up. He says there were 2 getchkas around Haman's neck. But the mice is still shver. Well, this is still miyira. So let's take a look at Tosfos and Sanhedrin.
Why does it say 2? I mean, even if it's 1, it's equally variable.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll look that up in a minute. Let's first see this Tosfos here in Sanhedrin.
I mean, 2 statute doesn't make it more sinful than 1.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, Rav Amar Potter.
No, where?
I'm reading the Tosfos here.
Okay.
On Samachal base. Rav Amar Potter. Afa gav de perk ben soyer moira. Amar bavois kachavim yiharg dal yavor. So Frek Tosfos. What's Rav saying here? Rav is saying you're allowed to bow to avodah zara if you're being threatened by somebody. How could that be? We have a Persia Gemara that avodah zara is yiharg dal yavor. That's the definition of Yihar Gval Yavor. It means if someone's pointing a gun at you and says bow to avodah zara, you're not allowed to bow. So how could Rava say it's mutter? Yesh loymar nehi dechayev limsar atzmai l'chachila. In the Chanami, Rava agrees that you're chayev to get killed. Mikom makom hechet doloi maser atzmai. But if you didn't give your life, loy mechayev misa. You're not chayev misa for that act. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's all very funny. It comes out now, what Tosfos is saying is that Rava would say you're potter b'di'evid. That means that Abaya must be saying that you're chayav b'di'evid. Means Abaya is saying that if someone was forced at gunpoint to bow to avodah zara and he actually bowed, then Abaya is saying he would be chayav misa. So, according to that, the Rambam, the Rambam in Hilchos Sodia Torah, Perkei, the Rambam says that if someone did avodah zara at gunpoint, he would be potter from Misa's Bezdin, because he did it b'oinus. So, according to this, that Rambam would only be according to Rava, not according to Abaya. It's a shtickle pella. Okay, anyway, let's go on to the next teretz. V'ein loymar Rava l'taimei di'omer b'perk Rabbi Shmuel afilu avodas kachavim b'tzina ne'amar v'chai bohem. You can't say Rava is going l'shitasoy that he happens to hold that avodah zara is not Yihar Gval Yavor when it's b'tzina, when it's in private. V'loy shiyamus bohem. Di'im kain hani brises demaisi lema de'asi command di'omer b'perk ben soyer u'moyer Yihar Gval Yavor. Then Rava could just machavek the kashas by saying, yeah, those brises are going like the opinion that it is Yihar Gval Yavor. I personally hold it's not. The Tepukta de Tanaihi. Okay, now that's the first teretz. The first teretz is that Rava holds b'di'evid, you're potter, but l'chachila it's aser. V'yesh mefarshim. Second teretz is yesh mefarshim ha di'amar Yihar Gval Yavor hainu b'stam avodas kachavim. That's a regular avodah zara. The hacha ayri ba'avodas kachavim sha'kol oivdin me'avor me'ira. Totally new pshat in the Gemara. So scratch everything we said. Back to the beginning of the Gemara. Abai and Rava argue about avodas kachavim me'avor me'ira. What does it mean? Avor me'ira? doesn't mean what we explained before, that people are bowing because of Avavir. It means that everybody's bowing. You hear?
Mm-hmm.
It means that even the Goyim don't believe in this avodah zarah. They only do it out of yira. Like, let's say Haman. Haman was like a dictator. He got up and said, I'm an avodah zarah. Everybody bowed to me, or else I'll kill you. So everybody bowed to him, but nobody really believed in him. And there's an interesting maisa that happened during World War II in Japan. The Jews from the Mir Yeshiva, other yeshivas, were staying in Japan for a while during World War II. So the Emperor Hirohito made himself into an avodah zarah. There was an official imperial cult of idol worship of the emperor. So every time the emperor walked through the street or drove through the street, all the people had to bow down on their knees.
Oh, yeah.
And otherwise they'd be beaten by the police. So Rebbe Cutler was in Japan, and he made sure not to go out because he was afraid that he would have to bow, and he didn't want to bow. So what? He held it was avodah zarah, so he didn't want to bow, but he didn't want to get beaten, so he made sure not to go out in the street. One time, a story was told that he had to go to the bank, and he was going with one of his talmidim. They're walking in the street to the bank, and lo and behold, the car went by, and the siren went off. The emperor is coming through. Everybody got down except Rebbe remained standing. So the police right away beat Rebbe with sticks, and it says he couldn't get up for a few days after that because of the beating.
Really?
So, but the other guy that was with him, the Talmud, bowed down on the ground. So later, when Rebbe saw the Talmud, he said, how could you bow to avodah zarah? He said, "Abizrayu de avodah zarah." According to the story, he said, "Abizrayu," meaning like it's not manish avodah zarah; it's like similar to it. So I wanted to be madam of that to this Gemara. Here, the emperor, I don't think any Japanese people believed that he was really a god, right? Maybe he was the grandson of the sun, rising sun, but I don't think they believed he was a god. But they had to bow because that was the rules, right? So here is the case of avodah zarah.
I was sure that the Brisker Rav, when he played at Tikva, he got up, then he sat down because he said that this is Yar veAlhaTemura.
Oh, he's hard veAlhaTemura to stand for Tikva, yeah. Okay. So that's the pshat. So the Rebbe Aaron must have held that there are some Japanese people that believed in him. So you see that the Japanese were willing to give their lives in kamikaze pilots and everything, right? Because of the emperor. So obviously they really believed in him. All right. Anyway, so yesh mefarshim dhadi amri hag ve'yavar hainu bistam avodas kachavim. Regular avodas zarah, vada, everybody agrees you're not allowed to bow to it, even at gunpoint. V'hacha, but here what's Rava talking about? Avodas kachavim shakolo evdim me'avamir. Even the goyim don't believe in it. It's only done out of avamira. Dumi the haman, just like Haman, the maisi. Umas nisin de echad ha'oived, the mashmalei de ayri chad gavna. Okay, that's going to be later in the Gemara. Okay, this is already not Negea. Okay, now skip to the line V'im Toimar. No, we're still in Tosfos, V'im Toimar. L'Rava amai lo hishtacha ve'mordechai lahaman.
I'm sorry.
Here, V'im Toimar. L'Rava, according to Rava, that says that when someone makes himself an avodah zarah but nobody believes in it, you're allowed to bow. So then why didn't Mordechai bow to Haman? That there was a getchka around his heart, around his hanging around his neck. Oh, now we understand the teretz to what I asked, right? What was a getchka different from Haman? If Rav is matir miyira, then he's matir miyira over here too. What's the difference if it's a statue or it's Haman? Teretz is very simple, because Haman, Tosfos just said, Haman himself nobody believed in. He was just he was a dictator, so they had to bow to him, but they didn't really believe. But these Slamim, these Getchkas, people did really believe in it. Haman had a statue of whatever Getchka the Persians believed in. So that's a real Nevad. There, even Rava agrees you're not allowed to bow. Okay? That's the Teretz of Tosfos. Or you could say that Mordechai went overboard. He went beyond the call of duty because he wanted to make a Kiddush Hashem. K'da'aminan b'Yerushalmi d'Shvius k'goin Papus v'Lulianus achim. Very interesting story. In the Yerushalmi it says, Papus and Lulianus were two Jewish brothers. She'nastan lahem mayim b'zchuchis tzivua v'loi kiblu. That they gave them water in a colored glass and they didn't want to drink it. So what's pshat in this Yerushalmi? So I looked it up, and it comes out there's two pshatim in it. There's the Ma'ara Fulda, and there's the Ma'arash Cirilio. Two commentators on the Yerushalmi who explain this story. One explains it, the Ma'ara Fulda explains that this glass was a certain type of minig. Jews had a minig to drink from clear glasses, and Goyim had a minig to drink from colored glasses. So they wanted them to do like the Goyim. So it's sort of like the Gemara, the Bavli says, if you have these shoelaces, if Jews wear black shoelaces and Goyim wear white shoelaces, and the government makes a gzeira that you have to wear white shoelaces, you're not allowed to comply, because that's like, it's like shas gzeira. When there's a shas gzeira, even a little thing becomes the haGuela, even a minig. So here also there was like a minig to drink out of the white, clear glasses, and the Goyim wanted them to violate the Jewish minig, so it became Yahar veAlhaTemura. That's one shot. The other shot was the Ma'arash Cirilio, who says that it was water, but they wanted it to look like wine, and yain nesach is aser, but water. So they said to them, "Look, you don't want to do an aveira? Fine, we'll give you water, but we'll make it look like wine, so people should think you're drinking wine, and then they'll think you're complying with our gzeira." So on that, there's a din Yahar veAlhaTemura. It's not really a din Yahar veAlhaTemura. Tosfos is saying it's just a Kiddush Hashem. It's just like an extra thing that they did, but not because of a chiyuv. Or maybe Tosfos even means that it was a chiyuv, but it was a chiyuv out like Arkas of the Mistan. It was a chiyuv because it was like a shas gzeira that you have to do even the smallest thing. So come to us, according to this teretz, Haman, the reason why Mordechai didn't bow to Haman is because even though it wasn't a real avodah zarah, and according to Rava it was pater, but since it's a minig, it's l'chol pachas, it's like a minig, right? It's at least the arkas of the misana, not to bow to a person who makes himself a getchka. So therefore Mordechai wanted to be Mekadesh Hashem and didn't want to bow to him. Okay, so back to the haGuela. So he says, why Tosfos in Shabbos says that there were two getchkas? What's the difference if it was two or one? Yeah, maybe he's just bringing that the Medrash says that taka what happened. It's not that we're making up just to answer this kasha, but it's really established as a fact that Haman used to wear these two statues around his neck. All right. Anyway, Al Kapanim Mevur Medivrei Gemara Medivrei Rashi now. We see from the Gemara and Rashi the loy hishtach v'loy mishum avodah zarah, that the reason why Mordechai refused to bow to him was because of avodah zarah. Why did the Yidden have a taina on Mordechai? Why did Mordechai in this medrash, why did he have to justify himself by saying he didn't do it for his own honor? Let him just say he did it because he had to do it. So the teretz to this is found in a sefer called Manos HaLevi, which is written by Reb Shlomo HaLevi Alkabetz, the author of the Lecha Doidi. Okay? Manos HaLevi, Persia on the Megillah Esther. Shekostov dehavalei leMordechai limnoya mileishev b'shar melech. That the taina was, Mordechai should not have been sitting there when Haman walked out. He should have made sure, like Rabban Kotler, right? He made sure not to go on the street. Why did Mordechai have to go on the street? Or else, levakesh me Esther shetisirenu mishar melech. He should have asked Esther to take him away. Let's say Mordechai's job was to sit in the Shar Melech. He was one of the king's government, right? So okay, fine. So have himself move to a different position. Bishus HaMelech. Let the king give him permission to do something else. So as not to provoke Haman. Because he saw that Haman was having a good time. Haman was getting promoted. By not doing this, by making sure to Davka be there and not bow to Haman, he brought a danger upon Klal Yisrael. The Manos HaLevi also brings Medivrei Yalkut Siman Tafter Rishon and Daled Shehaman Avar Lifnei Mordechai V'Lo Zaz Mordechai Mim Koimai V'Lo Shal B'Shloimai. So the problem was not just that he didn't bow. Good, he didn't bow because it was a avodah zarah. But he didn't even ask Haman, like, good morning, how are you doing, right? He didn't say anything to him. So Haman actually went first to Mordechai and said, "How are you, Mordechai?" Right? Shalom Mordechai. So Amalei Mordechai, Ein Shalom Omar Hashem LaRashaim. Mordechai gave him a sharp answer. He said, "No, there's no shalom for you because you're a Rasha." Miyad Vayimolei Haman al Mordechai Chema. Then Haman got angry, understandably, right? Ad kan. Upirsh bazeh vayar Haman ki ein Mordechai koreo mishtakav eloi. He says that's pshat in the pasuk. Vayar Haman. Haman saw that Mordechai was not bowing to him. But the lemmer de'ena das yoitzeis v'nichnesis imoy bazeh. That it was not the Torah that was forcing Mordechai not to do it. It was Mordechai mitzad atzma. He says, Rak ein Mordechai. Mordechai alone, he himself mitzad atzma koreo mishtakav eloi. He himself was refusing to give him any honor. Meaning the Torah doesn't say you can't say good morning to a Rasha, right? You could say good morning if a Rasha walks by. The ein b'shalas shalom nidnu d'avodah zarah. It wasn't considered avodah zarah to say good morning to him, to say how are you. Kol shekei lahashtiv lo shalom. And certainly, if Haman is the one to ask you first, mipnei hakavod umnei hayira, you have to answer him. Shal malchus. He's the prime minister. You got to say something to him. Okay, so that was the Tanya on Mordechai. Why didn't he? First of all, why didn't he greet Haman? Or the other pshat was, why didn't he make sure to be in a different place so as not to provoke him? Okay, v'yesh mefarshim shekasfu ki Haman heisir me'olav habegadim atzoyim asher avodah zarah mitzuyeres aleim. That really Haman knew that there was this thing that Jews don't bow to an idol. So Haman took off his avodah zarah from him, and then Lanaso, he says to Mordechai, I want to test Mordechai to see if he would still not bow. V'yafal pichein u'Mordechai lo yikrav lo yishtachaveh. He didn't get up, he didn't bow, he didn't do anything. Then he was angry at him.
You know, in Israel, the Yom HaZikaron, they blow
the siren,
and
right.
Everyone has to stand.
Right, so they walk. Some people keep on going, walking, show that they don't care. Right?
Yeah, and people say, Chulu Hashem, Chulu Hashem. Yeah, then for the same thing, right?
Yeah,
is that also
showing honor to the Rishonim? Yeah.
Is that also Hayar veAlhaTemura to start?
It's Hayar veAlhaTemura, but it's the way of showing it. You don't agree with it. Oh, so now we explained the answer to the question. Now we understand why Mordechai was being blamed for doing what he did, right? Now we have the kasha the other way. Why Taka did Mordechai not give Haman any respect? How did he have a right to provoke him? And call him a Rasha to his face. He didn't greet him. There was nothing wrong with that. Okay, so now the Manas HaLevi comes back and answers that too. He says, "V'tirtz b'Manas HaLevi shekol kavanasai." What did Mordechai think? He thought haya lechaper ala kol kuloi. He wanted to sacrifice his own life to be mechaper on Klal Yisrael. Why? Asher yishtachavu letzelam Nebuchadnezzar. Because years ago they bowed to Nebuchadnezzar's statue. The Gemara says that they were chayav misa for bowing to it. The heavy was there, so that's why Mordechai wanted to sacrifice his life. Everybody else got killed too. He said no. The heavy was there. Divrei harav Yosef Gakun Zal. He didn't know that. He didn't know that Mordechai that Haman was going to make a gzeira on all the Jews. He thought that he would just punish him for it. He sacrificed his own life to make a kapara for the whole Jewish people. Kanal. So where are we holding now? Finishing the simon. We understand now why they had a taina on Mordechai and they said Ma ostali yemini, because they were saying he caused this problem by provoking Haman, even though he didn't have to. And why did Mordechai do it, Taka? Because he thought that Haman wouldn't get mad at all the Yidden. But Lamaisa, they had a good time on Haman, on Mordechai. Mordechai came back and saved them. So that's what he's going to answer in the next simon. You see that even though he saved them, they were still angry at him for putting them in danger. And this brings us back to Tzionim. The Tzionim put us in danger, and then they saved us, and we're not thankful for them because we say to them, why did you put us in danger to begin with?